Before we start my presentation, it's very important that we do this exercise. So everybody, wherever you're sitting right now, just close your eyes. Close your eyes, everybody. Everybody. Okay, you don't usually close your eyes. Go ahead and close your eyes for this exercise, please. Now imagine cornfields in Illinois. Okay. Now look to your right. Just kidding. Hey guys, it's GN over here. I missed you guys already. We had so much fun last week. But so here's my presentation for my field experience that I had. So let's start. I visited Nelson County Middle School in Virginia. It's a middle school that is located in Nelson County, and it shares the campus with the high school also, Nelson County High School. It has about 458 students. There are 30.7 full-time teachers. I do not know how you can have 0.7 full-time teachers, but that's what the principal told me. They offer grades 6 through 8, and the student-teacher ratio is 15:1, which is pretty good. And most of you guys also said about that average for your middle school, so that's nice. They also use block scheduling that they had almost 2 hours per class, so that was a lot. There were 78% were white students, 18% were black, 5% Hispanic, and less than 1% were other than these three categories. 6th grade had 168 students, 7th grade had 134 students, 8th grade had 156 students. They also had 33% of these students were offered free lunch, and 11% of them had the opportunity to have reduced lunch prices. From what I learned in my visit to the school, some of their ongoing priorities and their school improvement plan. They have a professional learning community. They want to tell the kids to start exploration of their careers. So they want the kids to find for themselves what they want to do in the future. At-risk identification and intervention for students is also key. In Nelson Middle School, they even have one block of class a day for remediation, as I'm going to talk about later too. They have a special education program, but they want to improve it a little bit more. They want to provide the students with opportunities to read more during the summer and during the semesters and during the school year. Also have a Mustang Pride, which stands for preparedness, respect, integrity, diversity, and excellence, which I think is really cool to have a list of the thing that goes along with it, and the kids can be accountable to it. And they also want the teachers to be technologically savvy. Yeah, Samuel, technologically savvy. And so they have training for the teachers to learn how to use smart boards and computers more effectively in the classroom. Their SOL results from last year, all but one subject, they lowered their SOL score, so that's not very good. But they were still above the state average. The only subject that they went up on was history. That went up by 4%. Everything else was lower by at least 12 to 13% of their test scores. As I said, they have an ongoing school improvement plan that they wanted to analyze a little bit more of the past and the current data in order to see what areas they need to improve on. They also have the parental and community involvement that they call PTO, and they really want to make sure that the parents and the community is involved in the kids' education so that there's a community of learning, like we read in the textbooks. They also want to fix their school financial resources. They're having some deficits, and they don't want to close down the school, so the principal is working towards a better system where they can improve the budget issues. And they also have growth and learning teams where the teachers and they're accountable to a few students, and they really make sure that the kids are not failing in any class and everything. So my first classroom, I observed seventh grade English summer school. So there were about 10 students, and it was Mrs. Bibb, and they were reading The Call of the Wild. I never had the opportunity to read it, but they were reading it aloud. The teacher was reading it, and they called on some students. But what I noticed was that they were not reading at their grade level. These kids were going to eighth grade, and they were reading at about a third grade level. And I felt bad because, it's hard because these kids are going to go almost to high school, and they're not prepared. They couldn't say the words like eventually or suspicious. They did not had a clue on how to read those such words. There was a smart board in the classroom, and it was used during discussions about the book. Another thing I noticed was that the students were not engaged, but they were not, fully paying attention to the read alouds and everything. But once the teacher asked questions, they knew the answer. So that was a little weird. But it made me realize that sometimes the kid might not look like they're paying attention, but they actually know, and they're actually paying attention to what you're saying. And also, what I liked about that class was that Miss Bibb used the book to talk about current issues in society. There was a part where, there were two dogs and they're fighting each other, and how does that relate to today's issues where one dog was a mean leader and the other dog was a nice leader that was a people pleaser and everything, or dog pleaser, as you may. So that was cool to see. The second class I went was a sixth grade science summer school class, and that had about maybe 7 or 8 students. It was held in the lab with long tables, and they had all the materials and everything out there, but the teacher was missing. They didn't know where the teacher was that day, so there was a substitute teacher in the classroom, and she was a science teacher also, but she was subbing in for that teacher, and she doesn't usually work at the summer school. But they had work posts on the board, a lot of assignments that they had to research on the textbook and everything, and the students were actually engaged in activities. They were not just joking around or playing around. They were actually engaged, and that caught my attention because if I only had a substitute teacher, I would just probably be playing video games on my phone or something. But these kids really wanted to learn, so that really shocked me. But shocked me in a good way. Then I had the pleasure to interview Mr. Shaner. He is the principal, and he's been there for a few years now. He started the remediation on an everyday basis program. So once a day, there's a class block for kids in remediation where they can go in and work on subjects that they're not doing so well. And I thought that was a great idea because then you can actually have a ongoing, everyday process for those kids who are not performing well. Once students graduate, he said that they can also have up to 8 high school credits already, which I thought was really cool for the kids who are more advanced. They can already get started in high school classes too. He said that he's a part of the county school security program, so they're working on getting a little more safety precautions in schools, like metal detectors and more security plans. But he said that the only safety plan implemented right now at Nelson Middle School is you got to check in at the front desk. From the interview I had with him, he gave me two advices that I really took into heart. And the first one was, "There's no learning without relationship," and it was just like the quote that one of the students in our class said. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And they said that even though there can be learning without a relationship, maybe in college where there's 500 students in a classroom and you can still learn from that teacher, but in the early grades, in the middle grades also, the students need to know that you have their best interests at hand. So then they will care about the subject and they'll be able to perform better. And also, one advice for New teachers was the that he said you need to find the age group that you would like to work with, and do not just start somewhere. Really have a purpose in mind, and come in when you interview for a job and say, I want to work with this with this subject at this grade level. Because sometimes you might be placed, if you don't be specific, if you're not specific, you might be placed in a subject, or if you're not specific, you might be placed in a different grade level, and you might hate working at that level. You're not passionate about it, and you're not going to be able to do a good job, and the kids are not going to learn. The kids will have a bad experience, and then that might hurt them in the long run too. As a summary, the school is really big. Okay, the school is humongous campus, and it has a huge building for middle school and a huge building for the high school, and they share the campus, had tennis courts and football fields and everything. They had everything you want, but inside it's not very well decorated. There's not, there's a few trophy cases, but there's no. Doesn't look like there's student involvement in decorating the boards on the hallways or anything. The students who were in summer school remediation looked like they were taking it seriously, which is a shocker to me because in Brazil, the kids who were in remediation, they were in remediation for a reason, and that's because they didn't pay attention and they didn't care about school. But these kids, for the majority of them, actually showed that they really wanted to be there. Another thing that I liked about the school was that they really focus on preparation for the teachers so that they are well prepared and they have a tool set that they can perform their jobs better. So the technologically technological development they have, and the they have a team and growth teams and developmental teams that they can work as a unit and teach each other. And another thing is that I really noticed was that the teachers really pour into the students' lives. They really took to heart the quote from the principal where there's no learning without relationship. You could see that this were paying attention to the class, even though they might not look like it. They were still, they were there paying attention and they were getting better. And the teachers showed that they really cared about the kids. They didn't show up to the class and taught the lesson. They really were a part of the kids' development. I think that's it. I gotta go do the dishes now because I'm at my house and I had dinner, so gotta do the dishes. And it was a pleasure again having class with you guys. I had a blast during that week. And Dr. Willard, I'm sorry if I made you mad with my jokes all the time, but I learned a lot that week, and I hope to see you guys soon. And good luck in your future endeavors for everybody. Bye. No, Samuel, they did not let the students do their homework on the roof of the buildings. Halton, before you even start, I'm not even going to listen to your question. You asked too many questions. That's a great question, Dr. Willard. I believe Nelson Middle School was more of a junior high because they really invested on kids' future and their future choices and getting ready for high school. So they had, they offered some high school credits and they really wanted to focus on the self-exploration of their careers.